Hello, my little Glasgow chums. My name is Lucy George, and although I have some friends in the audience who know me as other names, that is my real name. And I am what I call the mayor of Wordville, which is a publishing company. I'm very happy to have some Wordville authors in the house, as they say. Joe Dark has a book published in Wordville. All right, it's great. Polly Bull over there has a book of poetry published in Wordville. And so what we try and do is we're trying to look for books about people that have changed the industry, whatever art form they worked in. We're only really interested in books about the performing arts because that's the thing I'm interested in most. And so Gordon, it's fair to say, has completely changed the music landscape by the work he did with the Strokes, but also with a multiple decades long career with the people he's worked with. And you'll see in the book the influence that he's had just for this particular style. I don't know a lot about music. Anyone who's seen me on stage recognises that fact. But what I do recognise in working with Gordon is the precision and the care and the generosity of the man, and he's really interested in the end result, and I think that there's something about that really appears in this book. So I have purposely invited Mark McGee to interview him, and the reason is because I think Mark McGee epitomises the Glasgow music scene. Yeah. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. I met Mark probably on stage in a festival where he everything went wrong and he had to fill for time, and he said one of the most hilarious lines, and this young guy, right, it was good, I told you this a couple of times, it was so good. So he was sort of saying, oh, Jeremy Clarkson, he's Nigel Farage on wheels. And as soon as he came up and said that, I don't know what he then went on to say, but I just thought, this man is extraordinary. And I've been following his career ever since. And obviously I know Joe anyway, because we played together, but I thought Mark is the perfect person because he understands music, he's the heart of this city. So I'm going to pass you over to Mark to interview the legendary music producer. Please go.
Thank you very much, Lucy. The world is going to love this. And the world did. When did you realise that the world was loving it?
The first thing that happened was I opened a copy of NME magazine, and there's these kids that I just made a demo for, and the picture is in NME. And living in New York, when anything went in NME, it was like a big fucking deal. So I was like, whoa, this is unusual.
And how did you meet the Strokes?
I had a band called Absinthe, and we found a young person who was doing bookings, like they were throwing parties. Her name was Carrie Black, and we wanted to see what kind of parties she threw. She invited us to Lunar Lounge on Ludlow Street, and there were two bands playing. The first band I loved, they were called Come On. The second band had a lot of style, but I didn't really get it, and they were called The Strokes. And I had a little blue business card from my studio, and I was kind of only been a couple years in New York at that time, and I needed to work as often as I could to keep my rents paid. So I went to both bands and said, I have a studio 2 blocks away. I make really good demos cheap. Come visit us, you'll like it. And the first band that I really liked, they didn't call me. And the second band, which I thought was okay, they came and visited and made a demo, and that was The Strokes.
The Strokes. At what point did you realise? So we know that the Enemy. So for people that are a bit younger, I was at the right age where I read the Enemy. I think I was maybe 15 when this was all happening. So like the Enemy was a Bible, and I mean it was really important because it's not like it is now where you can actually just listen to the song yourself. Yeah. You had to find it. And I remember hearing the buzz of the Strokes, and before I'd actually heard the song, and then I think it was last night, just came out, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, that is the new sound. And I think everybody, does everyone remember hearing Last Night for the first time? And it was an incredible buzz. And so at what point, I understand that you moved to the UK because of the buzz, at what point does that happen?
After I recorded Is This It, I got actually invited by the LIbertines to come work with them. So I came, and when I saw the reaction that was happening in London, specifically where I landed on the Strokes, And they put a picture of me on their album, which is very unusual, and got me into a lot of parties and a lot of different recording studios. And so yeah, as soon as I felt the love that was happening, and it was, U.S. didn't catch on for a couple of years. So this was like, I'm going to this place where they already love this music that I've made, and that's why I moved to London.
So New York was still at that point, New York was just not... Was there a small scene that was loving it, or was it just getting ignored?
Some people who knew the downtown music scene were, had read An Enemy, and they, very few people actually were going to the magazine shop to get NME. There was only a, certain kind of nerdy rock person like me would go to the magazine shop near my studio every week and see what NME was saying. And so yeah, it was there wasn't really much going on in New York at the time, or in the US, but it was all kicking off in the UK, big time.
And it's easy. It's a bit easier to break the UK because you can just play a bunch of cities and feel that love straight away. And when you were, so you're in LIbertines, you mentioned there. So I go back to that. How did you meet Pete Doherty?
There was a stroke show. The biggest show they played was around June when Hard to Explain came out. They played at Heaven London. And I went to that show to see, I went from New York to London to see that show because I thought when that single comes out, there might be some palpable buzz in the air. Like I might be able to see the city reacting to the song. I just felt like it would happen, and it really did. So I went to the Heaven London show, and there was an after party, and I was sat by myself at a back table just looking at all these people thinking, these are the people I want to meet. They're like the in the know music scene of London right now, and this is exciting. And there was a woman at the table next to me, and she said, "Are you Gordon?" Sorry about that.
That's quite good.
Yeah, how do you know? I thought, how do they know me? The album's not out with my picture. And she said, "This is Pete, and he's got a band called the LIbertines, and I'm managing them, and we'd love you to record them." And I thought, oh, that's cool. After one show, my first day in London, I'm getting a job offer. And they gave me a CD, and I was going to Mallorca for the summer to go holiday with my friends there. I just wanted a whole summer away from New York City and at the beach and getting sun and being in Europe. And I played this CD they gave me, this demo, and it was kind of like this, what I could only describe as some kind of semi-traditional British folk music with acoustic instruments and dun 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 dun, like this kind of. And I thought, well, it's kind of cool, but I don't think I'd be the right producer for this kind of music. And I went to an internet cafe. That's what we did back in those days. And I wrote, her name is Banny. I said, Banny, I've listened to that demo you gave me, and it sounds cool as it is. I don't really know what I would contribute to that, but thanks for the offer. And I said no. And then I had an opportunity to go back to London a little while later, and suddenly they had changed to an electric band, and they were fucking good. And they were jaw-dropping good.
I was going to say, what happened to the LIbertines?
I said yes the second time. Yeah.
And what was the second time? What was it you worked on with the LIbertines?
Well, they asked me, even when they were in that acoustic phase, they said, will you be our producer? And I said no. And then when they played me, I actually saw a rehearsal because I didn't even like the next electric demos. I thought they sounded horrible too. But Banny convinced me, before you give up on this group, come see a rehearsal. And I thought, I don't know why I'm saying yes, but it's because you're nice enough to let me stay at your house. Okay, yeah, it would be rude not to. So I go in there without any high hopes, and they played right in front of me in a room about between me and John Zip over there. The room was this big at Rue's studio, and they were set up in a line, and I was in a chair, and they gave me a bag full of marijuana and some tobacco and rolling papers, which made me like them very much before they even played. And then they started playing one song after the other, and I was like, oh my God, I just met the Beatles at 18 years old, maybe 18-year-old Beatles, and this is going to be the greatest, British rock band. Everyone's going to love them, and I got to work with them. And I said, is there paper and pen? Yes. And I started just writing notes about what I was going to do and how we're going to produce it. And then they asked me to go on a tour with them to be their live sound man. And so I get to know the music better. And long story short, I didn't record them at all. But I had some adventures, and I wound up living in London for a couple years because of that situation.
Amazing. And how long did you spend in the UK altogether, did you say that?
I moved in early 2002, and I left for Berlin in 2005. So there was a 3-year thing going on.
Did Berlin start getting cooler? I think that's about the time Berlin got cooler.
It got actually, like, as soon as I moved there, it started getting less cool. But then, in my opinion, and I hope nobody takes offense, so did London, actually. Because very quickly, the whole circle around the Libertines kind of like changed, and then the music industry was pumping lots of money in to get people to wear skinny jeans and Converse, but make really slick, radio-friendly music. And I didn't want to work on that kind of stuff, and it was turned into a big money industry, and I kind of lost interest. But for a couple of years, it was really vital.
It's interesting you say about radio-friendly music, because what you have always, the records that I've heard you do sound unique and interesting, yet they can still get played on the radio. How do you do that one?
Only occasionally, like maybe, even on Is This It? What was there, 2 songs that maybe hard to explain, and last night they were on the radio.
Someday?
Maybe, yeah.
Definitely.
I think that those guys were so clever. Their songwriting is so infectious that like they crossed over a lot of boundaries, making a weird sound. And even their American label was telling me that this is a sound that no one will buy. Like, this is so, you're ruining their music with this horrible production. They were saying that literally, but their music was so strong that even with horrible production, it just, cut through.
It is not horrible production. What's a horrible production? No, it was fantastic production. And they were wrong. And you had the last laugh in that one. And what about can we bring up Damon Albarn? I heard you did running with Damon Albarn.
What's that? You what?
Damon Albarn, I heard.
Yeah, but what did you see?
I heard there was a bit of a running.
Oh yeah, that's it. It was one of the funniest stories.
Can you hear it?
Lucy, am I allowed to tell the Damon Albarn story? Okay.
You can tell this. This is not streamed live. You don't tell it.
It's a bit long-winded though. I don't know how to tell a short version.
Tony, we've got time. Shouts to Tony, by the way, for letting us in here. Record Shop, there's a beautiful home. It's a beautiful home.
By the book. Fantastic with it, and then say.
So this is album 2 with the Strokes, Rhythm on Fire, and we've been working really hard almost all summer, and we're in New York recording the second record, and at Madison Square Garden, Blur was having a reunion show after years of not playing together, and the Strokes were excited to go see Blur play at Madison Square Garden, and I decided I don't really want to see that. I'll just stay here in the studio and work on editing and moving snare drums and like just smoking more marijuana or something. And then about maybe 12:30, little after midnight, I hear rumbling coming up the stairs, and it's the Strokes, and they brought back Damon Albarn. And they're all in various stages of alcohol intoxication, some worse than others. And I'm gonna really tell this. Okay, Damon Albarn came right into the studio and sat right next to me on the couch, and then they said, "Hey Gordon, this is," and the Strokes go like, "Hey Gordon, this is Damon from the Blur." I go, "Hi, nice to meet you." And he says, "Cut life." Looks at me, says, "David Bowie calls me on the phone every day." I thought, well, that's cool, but whoop-de-doo, and what a weird opening line. But you don't have to earn I'm just like a producer guy, you don't have to earn my respect with that. So I didn't give him that much of a reaction. I was like, oh, wow, cool. And then he goes, since he saw that didn't land too well, he goes, I'm one of the only people who can actually sing all the Beatles harmonies, all the parts.
I see all the people.
Well, in my mind, I say strike 2. I'm like, what is this all about? And so then Julianne says, like, hey, Gordon, we would really want to play some of these songs that we're working on for Damon to see what he thinks. And I'm thinking, man, we have a little bit of work to do tonight. Do we really have to do this? But I play a song, and the Strokes are kind of looking worried. They're like, looking sad and worried and looking at Damon's reaction, and Damon's like, okay. Played 2 songs. Damon is like, yeah, I can see how you're gonna have a really hard time selling this. So I'm like, fuck you, man. This shit sounds so good. And I've seen the Strokes get worrieder by the minute, like, oh no, I thought so. We thought the same thing. And it's hard doing a second album, And so Damon and Julian talk for a minute, and all of a sudden, Julian, Gordon, Damien suggests that we need some harmonies on the songs. That's gonna really help them, and he's offered to do some harmonies. So would you set up a microphone for him and record him doing some harmonies? And I think, Strokes with harmonies? Jesus Christ, that's what I liked about you guys. You don't have tambourines, you don't have shakers, you don't have doubles, you don't have acoustic guitar playing gently in the background. You just play your music. So, okay, yes, Julian, you're my boss, for sure. Here, set up a microphone. And Damon goes out, he's got some lyrics in front, he tries a few things, and he's like, and everything he's done, like, makes me feel physically ill. And I said, this sounds so awful. And he's like, he kind of knows that it doesn't sound good. He's going, hey, never mind that one, I have a different idea. So when he said, never mind that one, I would just like mute the channel that he had already, I wouldn't erase it, I would just keep it, but mute it just in case they wanted to listen to it back later or whatever. And he tried another idea, and he tried another idea, and he probably worked for like an hour putting lots of ideas. And at the end he said, you know what, this music doesn't need harmonies, it's fine, and I don't think I like any of my ideas. So he comes in the studio, and Julian goes, Gordon, would you play back some of that stuff that he did? And I had an evil intention and an evil action, which was, if I would have played back each idea a little at a time, maybe it would have sounded half okay, but instead I kind of looked around slyly and I unmuted like 12 different ideas that had nothing to do with each other, and said like, no, you want to hear it? Okay, here. And this chorus of cacophonous, out of tune, bad ideas just happened at once, and everyone looked really worried. And Julian said, no, I don't think that's going to work. I said, may I erase this? He goes, yeah. No. There's a part 2 of this story, but do you want to go on to something more interesting?
Would you like to part 2? I think we like part 2.
Part 2, we're at about 2:30 in the morning, and Damon's tour manager is like looking at like, Damon, we've got to go to Boston, and that's like a 3-hour ride away, and we need to get back to the tour bus. The guys are waiting. And also, one thing that Damon had slipped in earlier in the conversation, I make a lot more money with the gorillas. I'm just doing this tour here for the guys, they needed it, So that was another thing he slipped out. But yeah, his tour manager's like, Damon, we got to get back to the other guys at the Madison Square Garden. The bus is taking off. And he goes, I want to stay and party with the Stroke. I want to drink some more beer with Julian. And no, come on, Damon, come on. And he goes, I'll take a taxi to Boston. Damon, that'll be hundreds of dollars. You can't do it. I think the last thing was him being like kind of let out, sadly, out of the building. Like when Raymond Edwards started, I don't have any other words.
Well, one day, maybe a part 3, that was brilliant, and I love the way that you called him Damien at some points as well. Well, let's talk about people that you do like working with. Obviously, we know you've dealt with Reggina Spektor. I'd like to hear about how you met her. So, but before, let's just go to Reggina Spektor actually. I heard this, how did you meet? It was a strange one.
That's actually where the book title comes from, to be honest. I got a call from a friend of mine that I'd worked with several times in New York while I was living in London. He goes, hey Gordon, you coming to New York anytime soon? I go, yeah, it's like Christmas coming up. I actually have a flight in a couple days. I'm going to go to New York for Christmas. He goes, great. I have a really great artist named Reggina, and we would like you to record. I said, no, I've been working all year really hard, and I'm just going to party in New York. I'm going to just do nothing but party and have fun. I'm not working at all. He goes, oh, okay, well, She's like 23 years old, a Russian girl, plays piano really well. 23-year-old Russian girl plays piano well. I'll meet her, but I'm not working. And he goes, okay, meet us this and this time. So I go into this recording studio and I'm talking to my friend, and Reggina comes in and she's wearing these really mishmash thrift shop kind of indie fashion things. She put together like scarves and hats and like things and pins and big fluffy sweaters and more scarves. And I know, oh, very interesting. Curly red hair, like really thick red hair. And I shake her hand. I said, hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? She goes, Alan, is this piano okay if I use it? Okay. So she sits down at the piano and pulls up her thing, and she pulls a chair over and she gets a drumstick out of her purse. And she starts like whamming the chair with her drumstick like horses galloping, and she's playing like classical music with her left hand. I'm like, shit. And then she's looking right up at my face, like singing these lyrics and these melodies that are blowing my mind. Like, and within basically 20 seconds, I'm thinking, the world is gonna love this. I have to record it. And I imagined how I was gonna record it while she was playing the first song. And when it was over, I said, Alan, is the studio available now? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, go get me 11 microphones. And he looked at me like, there's a girl playing the piano and singing. Why do you need 11 microphones? Just go get me 11 microphones. And I made an elaborate arrangement with like 2 microphones on the piano, a mic on her voice, a mic on the drumstick hitting the chair, a mic in the air that captured just the blend of it, another mic in the air that I ran into a Fender guitar amp with another mic in front of it down the hall, so that it would be like a room with a girl playing a piano going through an amplifier, being microphoned into the recording desk, things like that. And within maybe 20 minutes, we had Poor Little Rich Boy recorded, which we thought was just going to be like an EP we're going to make, but wound up being on the album. The very same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
She blew my mind. She completely floored me with her. Every moment with her in the studio was a revelation. Absolutely.
Amazing. And another part of the book that I love is Ian Brown.
You read the book?
I've read most of the book.
Just the highlighted bits?
No, yeah, well, my team read it.
Oh, that's good. And they fed you the one-liners?
No, I've got script writers for that.
Okay.
It's quite obvious that there's no script writers for my one-liners, let's be honest. No, I've read most of the book.
That's honest.
No, I'll be honest. How honest will I be? Will I tell you what's been going on the last 2 weeks in my life? No, we'll move on.
It's basically more about me than it is about me.
It's not all about me. I forgot. It's not all about me. I would like to ask you about Ian Brown.
Ian, best story.
It's a great story.
It's the opposite story of the Damon story.
That's what I was going to do today. Then I got distracted by Reggina Spektor, but from Damon to Ian Brown.
Yeah, okay. So, first of all, I was living in a transient hotel in Los Angeles. I wasn't exactly transient because the boss of the hotel gave me the room because he said we're going to do a bunch of heavy-duty television advertising. He's going to give me lots of money. He never did, but I had this little room in the hotel, and someone had given me like the Sounds of Manchester cassette right when it came out. It was actually called that, and it had In Spiral Carpets, Stone Roses, Happy Mondays, and a few others. And I loved it because I played keyboards and I like organ, and this music was like this danceable rock with this organ featured on everything, and I just thought it was so damn cool. Okay, fast forward 10 years, I guess, I'm in New York, and maybe more. And I get a call during a lunch break. I was working on my own music. I get a call during my lunch break. Some guy with a British accent asking if this was a recording studio. And I thought it was weird because I didn't know that our studio was even in the phone book. So it never happened that I picked up the phone and it was someone who wanted to record. And I said, yeah. He said, can I come over and record something real quick? I thought, man, I'm working on my own stuff right now, but maybe I could use another $25, right? That would help me with my cause from living in New York. So I said, what do you want to do? He said, I just want to do some vocals. I said, okay. And I gave him the address of the studio, and he said his name was Ian. And so I thought, I want to get him out of here quick. He's just doing one vocal. I imagine it'll be like an hour, and I'll get $25. So while he was coming over, I made a little Logic session that said Ian's song, and I sat at my computer and I set up a really good microphone in the other room, and I just waited for him to come. But I also thought, man, he said he lived in the neighborhood. Maybe he's a drug addict. He's coming to just steal my equipment, you know. I better keep my eye open here. It's the East Village, and you know, it was unusual that someone was going to come that I didn't know or hadn't met. So he comes downstairs, and this guy Ian, he's got a bit of a rocker, like a shag haircut and a nice leather jacket, and he had a really beautiful girl with a poncho, like a South American poncho on. And he said, "Hi, I'm Ian, and this is Fabiola." And I said hello to both of them. And he walked through my little studio, and it only had red lights or something. And he said, like, "It's a bit like a massage parlor, yeah." Yeah, massage parlor, he said. He said, "Oh, yeah, that's nice. So what do you want to do? I have a really good microphone out there. You want to sing on that?" And he goes, "Oh, no, I want an SM57, which is like..." And this guy doesn't know much about music, you know. That's a really good microphone. This is like in every band practice room in the whole world is this microphone.
Well, that's it.
That one now?
Right? Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So 58. Anyway, so he's standing behind me, and I'm pressing record on Ian's song, and I'm wearing headphones because he wants to be in the same room with me, behind me, and so I had to turn the speakers off so it wouldn't make feedback. And I'm listening to him sing, and I'm thinking, oh, he's got a really cool voice, actually, this Ian guy. And I thought, wow, like this is like, that was 10 seconds. I'm like, this is a cool voice. 20 seconds into the song, I'm like, I know this voice. This is really familiar to me. And I'm looking at Ian's song, this voice, Ian's song. Oh my God, you're recording Ian Brown from Stone Roses. So he sings this song like perfect one time through. It takes like 5 minutes for him to sing the whole song. And I turn around, "Are you Ian Brown from Stone Roses?" He said, "Well, I am Ian Brown, but the Stone Roses broke up a few years ago, and I'm just doing this for 808 State. I'm going to go." And I said, how'd you find out about us? He said, "I was looking for the closest studio to my apartment because I have to go right now to JFK and fly over there and make this demo." And he said, "You're a very good engineer, by the way. How much do I owe you?" I said, $25. And he gave me a 50 and walked out. And from that, I'm thinking, wow, that's so cool.
I was actually researching the song on the internet with the 808 State collaboration, and it's never been released, has it, or has it been leaked?
I guess not.
There's a lot of people on the internet talk about it, and some claim to have heard it, but without any proof. And it's just people on the internet, so...
I might have it on a hard drive somewhere. I should find out.
There is a forum online that would love to hear it. And we actually want to see 808 State next week at Dinnerable, so I'm excited to see that. Yeah, is we going to Dinnerable?
Yay.
Yeah. And so with Ian Brown just came in, did it? So you said you were a good engineer. So at what stage did you consider yourself a good engineer at that point?
I had a lot of experience engineering. I did a lot of like basement recordings on 4-track, like for decades, you know, and I really got an arsenal of tricks. But it wasn't until I moved to New York in 1998 that I went into a studio and became a partner where they had good equipment. Like I was always using equipment like this and little mixers like this and a little 4-track and a synth and a guitar plugged directly in. But I managed to make that sound like I thought I made hundreds of great songs that way. So when I actually got a computer and great preamps and good microphones, I kind of applied the information that I had a little learning curve, learning how to use a computer mostly, and learning the characteristics of good microphones and preamps. But I think by the time he got in there, after the first year I was experimenting, I felt like I really could do cool stuff. Like I could put one microphone in front of a drum kit and have it sound like Massive Attack, like with one mic. Like, you know, it's like, okay, I think I'm getting it now.
Amazing. It is. So it's good that you had that confidence as well, and obviously it seems like the thread from all success stories is a bit of confidence and also a bit of luck and a bit of serendipity.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that before.
What a combination.
Yes, that is. You need all three, don't you? Or a bit of hard work.
You can't exist without any of those elements.
So what we got? So what we put that down to? So hard work, luck,
yeah,
serendipity. What was the other one? Confidence.
Angelic guidance. Oh, sorry.
And angelic guidance. So can you do it with 4 out of 5? How many do you need for it to work?
That's a good question. I think
There's people that work hard that aren't confident that can make it. There's people that are lucky that just are lucky.
Hard work and serendipity. I think you could go with that. And yeah.
So serendipity wise, what would you say? I mean, when you bumping into the Strokes?
Yeah. That's, or having Ian Brown show up.
Or having Ian Brown? Because that must have just made you feel like you only get 50 quid, but you would have felt $1 million just after that.
It was double what I expected. And it was him, and he smiled and said good things, and like that made. And at that time, even when I met the Strokes, I'd never sold a single record. I wasn't like a guy with lots of records in the shop. I wasn't on the team of experienced record producers. I knew I was good and I had something, but it wasn't verified by the world yet. I hadn't got approval yet.
And I heard, so you're saying Ian Brown, I think you used the phrase one take wonder, because he just came in, did the business and got out.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other artists that you refer to as a one take wonders that just come in and do it well. I think Skin.
Yeah.
Yes, Skin. I was just going to bring, just like to get the transporter RAM, because I was struggling to the
German.
So Skunk Ananse, for everyone knows, round up place for Skunk Ananse, one of the greats, and Skin is an absolute legend. So how did you bump into Skin, and how did that come about?
It was right when I was starting the project of First Impressions of Earth with the Strokes. I got a message from Skin's manager saying, hey, Skin really wants to work with you. And I'd never heard of her. I heard of Skunk Ananse, but I never really heard their music. And I listened to this demo, and her voice was just phenomenal. It was like jaw-dropping. It was so piercingly clear, yet with plenty of attitude and like power everywhere. And I wrote to the manager and said, I'm so sorry, but I'm just starting an endless process. I have no idea how many years this is going to take making this record with the Strokes, but I really like her, and good luck. So came around the next Christmas, and Skin said, I heard you're coming to London to your studio there. Why don't we meet just for your week of holiday, and we'll record just for fun to see what happens. So she came down, and we did a few songs in a week with her band, and it was really effortless. Like she'd do one take, perfect, double it, perfect, harmony, one take, double it, harmony, everything just like instant and with a big smile. And if she said she liked it on Tuesday, on Wednesday she didn't come in having an existential crisis that it was actually shite and they have to do it again. It was just everything you want in a recording session. And as it turned out, I got fired from that third album of the Strokes, and I called Skin immediately and said, hey, we can finish that album, and we did. It's her second solo album.
Amazing. And I'm going to open up to questions quite soon.
Yeah.
Was there just anything? So can we just talk about the sack, and that's what you distracted me with, because I haven't been at that yet. So the Strokes basically get signed. You're the producer, and then they tell you to go, basically. What's the story behind that?
Well, the big picture is that when they did the first record, they started it with a different producer, and I was very disappointed, and then I got the job back. The second album, they started it with a different producer, and I was really sad and devastated, and they fired him, and I got my job back. The third album, they started with me, and then after a year, I got fired, and they brought in another producer. Yeah.
Why did you get fired?
Why did I get fired? I was messing around with one of their wives. No, I don't know where that came from. That's not true. I got fired because they met this other engineer who worked with Paul McCartney, and they thought, man, if we get a guy who works with Paul McCartney, we'll be able to sell a lot more albums, and we need a new sound because all these other bands are coming out now. This is in the year 2004-ish, right? Almost 2005. Like all these bands are coming, dressing like us, sounding like us, and selling 10 times more records. What do they have that we don't have? Maybe it's really super experienced industry producer, like a guy who works with Paul McCartney. And so they wanted to try this mountainous gigantoid rock and roll sound that I don't even know how to do. And that's what they did. Yeah. And they spent, not here listening, they spent like millions on it. They had the guy who did Nirvana mixing it, and Andy Wallace. And I was really happy when it was like the slowest selling, even much slower than the ones we did in my basement for a small budget. That made me a little happy.
But you're still pals now. You're going to transmit tomorrow to see them.
Yeah, I'm going to see him. I'm going to see him.
Have you been to transmit before? Have you been to?
No.
You would have been to. I seen the Strokes at Tea in the Park. Did you tour with them back then?
No. Well, yeah, yes, I did.
So Tea in the Park used to be in a field.
No, I was there at that Tea in the Park in 2004.
I was there. I think I gave
Did he have a stookie on? Did he break his leg, Julian?
Yeah. That was somewhere earlier than that. That was in early 2003-ish. But anyway, I was at that Tea in the Park for sure.
Rock Ness. Were you at the Rock Ness gig?
Nope. I was at O2 Festival? Yeah, no, Oxygen Festival in Ireland, and the Tea in the Park here.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically I'm just trying to name Scottish gigs that played that I've been at, so you go, I was there, and the Scottish crowd, the Glasgow crowd is the best in the world. So if you just say that, people say, it's all the people in Glasgow really want to hear.
But he's not seen Barrowlands yet. I was trying to get him round to see Barrowlands.
Have you not been to the barras yet?
No, I've heard about it.
Well, we're going to go, after this we'll go to the barras together. We'll talk.
Field trip
to the barras. It's literally out on the doorstep here. And we've got the circus that is Transmit behind us. And it's been great talking to you, Gordon. I think we're going to open up to the... What's a round of applause for the Gordon here? Very good. And we're going to head to our questions. So, if anyone's got questions, please don't be stepping towards for that cameras. Gordon Raphael, you legend. What a brilliant book. Loved in the podcast. Were you hungry? What you fancy?
I'd like some organic Asian vegan food.
Well, we're maybe in the wrong part of the city for this. Yeah, I mean, we're working on it. I mean, it's getting gentrified. We're working on it. Do you like whelks?
Do you have hot dogs?
I don't know if there's any organic vegan hot dogs, but we're working on it.
You call that radio, radio, radio.